My mother handed me a formal letter cutting me from the family trust after I refused to attend my sister's engagement party, where she announced her engagement to my ex-fiance who left me at the altar 6 months ago. She sneered. She's always been the prettier daughter anyway, and he deserves someone who won't embarrass the family name. I stared at the heavy cream cardstock in my hand. It was beautiful stationery, the kind my mother spent thousands on every year, embossed with the family crest. But the words typed on it were ugly, brutal, effective immediately, termination of beneficiary status, revocation of all associated privileges. "This is what you want?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. The living room of my parents' estate felt enormous and cold, despite the fire roaring in the hearth. My father, Benjamin, didn't even look up from his scotch. "This is what you chose, Brooke. You chose this when you decided to prioritize your petty hurt feelings over your family's well-being." "My hurt feelings?" I choked out a laugh that sounded more like a sob. "Dad, Caleb left me at the altar 6 months ago, and now Jenna is marrying him, and you expect me to toast to that, to smile and eat cake while my sister marries the man who promised to spend his life with me." "You've always been the difficult one," he continued, taking a sip of his drink. "Stubborn, selfish, unwilling to see the bigger picture. Your sister understands what family means, what loyalty means." Loyalty, the irony was crushing. Where was her loyalty when she started sleeping with my fiancé? Where was his loyalty? My mother, Katie, stepped forward. She smoothed her skirt, looking perfect and untouchable. "The past is the past, Brooke. Caleb realized he made a mistake. He realized he needed a partner who fits into this world. Jenna, well, she's always been the prettier daughter anyway, more suited to the life we've built." It was the casual cruelty that broke me. They didn't just prefer her, they actively despised me for not being her. "If you can't appreciate that," my father added, finally looking at me with eyes that were terrifyingly cold. "If you can't celebrate her happiness, then maybe you don't belong in this family." I looked at this man who'd raised me, who taught me to ride a bike, who helped me with my algebra homework, and I realized I didn't recognize him anymore. I was looking at a stranger who viewed his children as assets, and I was the underperforming stock. "You know what, you're right," I said, snatching the papers from the table. "This is what I choose. I choose not to pretend this is normal. I choose not to smile and play happy family while you all act like my feelings don't matter. Keep the trust. Keep the money. I'm done." I turned to leave, marching toward the heavy oak doors. My hand was on the brass handle when my father spoke one last time. "She's always been the better daughter," he called out. "We should have made this official years ago." I didn't look back. I walked out into the rain, got into my modest sedan, the only thing I owned that wasn't in their name, and drove away. I cried for 3 days straight. I mourned the loss of my family, my financial security, my entire history. But then the silence set in, and it was peaceful. No more criticism, no more comparisons, just me, my small apartment, and the truth. That was 2 weeks ago. This morning, I woke up to what sounded like a SWAT raid. The pounding started at dawn, a frantic, rhythmic hammering that shook my front door in its frame. Boom, boom, boom. I stumbled out of bed, heart racing, pulling a robe over my pajamas. "Who is it?" I yelled, checking my phone as I moved toward the door. The screen was lit up with notifications. 89 missed calls. 47 voicemails. Hundreds of text messages. They were all from my parents and Jenna. I scrolled through the preview texts, my confusion turning to alarm. "Brooke, call me immediately. This isn't funny anymore. We need to talk right now. Stop whatever you're doing and call us. Brooke, please, I'm begging you." The voicemails were even worse. I played the most recent one from my father. His voice, usually so composed and commanding, was pitched high with panic. "Brooke, whatever you're doing, whatever you think you're accomplishing, stop. We can work this out. Just call me back." My mother's voice on the next one was practically unrecognizable through her sobbing. "Sweetheart, please. I know we made mistakes. I know we were harsh. Let's just talk and figure this out." And Jenna, my perfect traitorous sister, she sounded barely coherent. "Brooke, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry about everything. Just please make him stop. Please don't let him do this." "Make him stop? Do what?" The pounding on the door got louder. "Brooke, open up. We know you're in there." It was my father. He was outside my cheap apartment complex at 6:00 a.m. I undid the deadbolt and opened the door. All 3 of them practically fell into my living room. They looked like they hadn't slept in days. Their clothes were wrinkled. My father wasn't wearing a tie, which was unheard of. My mother's mascara was smeared under her eyes. Jenna looked like a ghost, her face pale and blotchy. "Thank God," my father breathed, shutting the door behind him and locking it as if they were being chased. I crossed my arms, leaning against the kitchen counter. We need to talk, do we? Because 2 weeks ago you made it pretty clear we had nothing to talk about. You revoked my beneficiary status, remember? Brooke, please, my mother said, grabbing my arm. Her grip was desperate, shaking. What did you tell him? Tell who? I pulled my arm away. Don't play games. Your ex, she hissed. Caleb, what did you tell him about our family? I blinked. I haven't spoken to Caleb in 6 months. Not since the day he left me standing at the altar in a $10,000 dress. I have no idea what you're talking about. The rehearsal dinner, Jenna said, packing frantically around my tiny living room. She was wringing her hands so hard her engagement ring, a massive diamond that used to be my grandmother's, was twisting on her finger. Tomorrow night, he's planning something terrible. What rehearsal dinner? I asked, confused. I wasn't invited, remember? I'm embarrassing. They all stared at me like I'd grown a second head. You don't know, my father whispered. The color drained from his face. Oh my God, she doesn't know. Know what? I shouted. Jenna, sit down before you pass out. Someone tell me what is going on. Jenna collapsed into my thrift store armchair, putting her head in her hands. He's not who we thought he was, she sobbed. His name isn't Caleb Blackwood. It's not even close. What? She looked up at me, tears streaming down her face. Do you remember the Harrington family? The ones who used to own Harrington Textiles before Dad bought them out? I nodded slowly. That had been 15 years ago. It was legendary in our circles, a hostile takeover that had destroyed one of the oldest families in the state. My father had acquired the company for pennies on the dollar, stripped it for assets, and merged it into his empire. It was the deal that made him a billionaire. He's Roman Harrington, Jenna whispered. Thomas Harrington's son. The room went dead silent. The only sound was the humming of my refrigerator. Thomas Harrington had lost everything. The business, the estate, the reputation. 6 months after the takeover, he had died of a heart attack. The rumor was that the stress killed him, or maybe the shame. He left behind a wife and a teenage son who disappeared from society. Roman Harrington, I repeated. Caleb is the son of the man Dad destroyed. He swore he'd get revenge, my father said, his voice hollow. We thought he was gone. We thought he moved to Europe, but he's been here, planning. I felt like the floor was tilting. You mean, he's been planning this for 15 years? My mother nodded miserably. He targeted you first, Brooke, because you were more trusting, easier to manipulate. He got close to the family through you. He got into the inner circle. But then, Jenna hiccuped, he realized I had more access. I was the one Dad trusted with the passwords, with the safe combinations. I was the one who attended the board meetings. So he pivoted. He left me at the altar to get to her, I realized aloud. It wasn't about love. It wasn't about Jenna being prettier. It was about access. I was the entry point. Jenna was the key to the vault. And now, my father said, wiping sweat from his forehead, he's planning to destroy our reputation. At the rehearsal dinner tomorrow night, in front of everyone who matters, senators, judges, business partners, everyone. What is he planning to do? I asked. Jenna looked up with hollow, terrified eyes. He has recordings, Brooke, private conversations, business dealings, family secrets, things that could destroy Dad's business, things that could send people to prison. Recordings of what? My father's face had gone gray. He walked to the window and looked out through the blinds, paranoid. The Harrington acquisition wasn't entirely clean, he admitted quietly. There were incentives, bribes, forged compliance documents, intimidation tactics against the union leaders. My stomach dropped. Dad, that's illegal, that's racketeering. It was business, he snapped, then lowered his voice. If that information comes out, we lose everything. The assets will be seized, the stock will plummet, I'll be indicted, we will be destitute. I stared at these 3 people. The people who had raised me, shaped my world, and then discarded me like trash when I stopped being useful. And you think I have something to do with this? I asked, incredulous. You're the only one who knew him before, my mother cried. You were with him for 2 years. You must have known something. You're the only one who might be able to stop him. Stop him from what? I asked calmly. Getting justice for what you did to his family. Brooke, my father turned around, pleading now. I know we made mistakes with you. I know we hurt you. But this will destroy innocent people. Your sister, your mother, employees at the company who had nothing to do with what happened 15 years ago. Innocent people like Thomas Harrington's family was innocent. That's different, Jenna shrieked, standing up. Brooke, I know I betrayed you. I know I stole the man you loved and then rubbed it in your face. I know I was selfish and cruel. But please, I am begging you, don't let him destroy everything. I'm pregnant. The air left the room. You're what? I'm pregnant, Jenna whispered, touching her stomach. With his child, if he destroys us, if he destroys Dad. What kind of life will this baby have? Please, Brooke, you've always been the good one, the kind one, help us. I looked at her, really looked at her. For the first time in my life, I didn't see the golden child. I saw a terrified, pathetic woman who had built her castle on a swamp and was surprised it was sinking. You think I orchestrated this, I said softly. You think I've been plotting with him for revenge, haven't you? My mother asked quietly. No, I said. I didn't even know his real name until 5 minutes ago. Then stop him, my father demanded. Call him, meet with him, whatever it takes. You're the only one he might listen to. He loved you, Brooke. In his own way, I think he actually loved you. Why would I do that? I asked. Because we're your family, my mother said. Are you? I laughed, a sharp, bitter sound. Because it sure didn't feel that way when you handed me those papers 2 weeks ago. You cut me out. You canceled my credit cards. You told me I didn't belong. That was a mistake, my mother cried. We were angry. We heard you couldn't be happy for your sister and we overreacted. You overreacted by disowning me. We never meant for it to be permanent. Then why did you make it legal? Silence. I walked to my kitchen and made coffee. I took my time, grinding the beans, pouring the water. I let them sit in the silence of their desperation. I let them stew in the consequences of their arrogance. When I came back with a mug, they were all watching me like I held the nuclear codes. You want to know the truth, I said, taking a sip. Finally, my father breathed. I'm glad he's doing this, I said. Jenna gasped. Brooke. I'm glad someone finally held you accountable, I continued, my voice steady. I'm glad Thomas Harrington's son found a way to get justice for what you did to his family. What about our family? My mother asked. What about it? I shrugged. You threw me away the moment I became inconvenient. You chose appearances over my feelings, reputation over my heartbreak. You made it clear that I was disposable. Well, now you're being disposed of. My phone rang. It was loud in the quiet apartment. We all looked at the coffee table. The name on the screen was Caleb. Answer it, Jenna begged. Please talk to him. I picked up the phone. I swiped to answer and put it on speaker. Hello. Brooke, Caleb's voice came through. It was different now, deeper, calmer. No longer the playful, charming voice of the man I thought I was marrying. This was the voice of a man who had won. I was wondering when you'd learn the truth. I assume they're with you. Hello, Caleb. Or is it Roman? Roman, he said. Caleb Blackwood never existed. So, I said, looking at my parents' terrified faces. I just found out my family is here begging me to stop you. He laughed, and there was absolutely no warmth in it. It was dry as bone. Stop me from what? Telling the truth about what Benjamin did to my father. Are you going to go through with it? I asked. The rehearsal dinner. Absolutely, he said. 15 years I've planned for this moment, Brooke. Every handshake, every smile, every lie. It was all for tomorrow night. What about my sister? I asked, looking at Jenna. She claims she really loves you. She says she's pregnant. There was a pause on the line. A long, heavy pause. I know, Roman said. That complicates things, but it doesn't change the mission. She doesn't love me, Brooke. She loves the idea of me. She loves the status I bring. She loves the man I pretended to be, just like she loves the money your father stole. And me, I asked, the question I shouldn't ask but had to. Was any of it real? You were the only part that was hard, he said softly. You were the only innocent thing in that house. I tried to spare you, Brooke, leaving you at the altar. It was cruel, but marrying you would have been worse. I couldn't destroy your family while I was your husband. I had to be on the inside, but not with you. I felt a strange sense of clarity settle over me. The pain of the last 6 months, the rejection, the confusion, suddenly made sense. I wasn't unlovable. I was just collateral damage in a war I didn't know was being fought. Do you want to know something funny, Roman? I asked. What? They think I'm going to try to stop you. Are you? He asked. Are you going to appeal to my better nature, beg for mercy for the father who disowned you? I looked at my father. He was mouthing please. Tell him to stop. I looked at my mother. She was clutching her pearls, weeping silently. I looked at Jenna, the sister who took my fiancé and called me jealous. Why would I do that? I said into the phone. You're doing what I never could. You're holding them accountable for their actions. My father let out a strangled cry. Brooke, no. Go ahead, Roman, I said. Burn it down, burn it all down. My father lunged for the phone. You traitor, he screamed, his face turning a dangerous shade of purple. Give me that phone. I stepped back, easily dodging him. He was old, tired, and defeated. I was fueled by 6 months of rage and a lifetime of being the difficult one. Don't come near me, I warned. Or I'll tell him to release the tapes right now, before the dinner, before you can even call your lawyers. My father froze. He knew I would do it. Brooke, Roman's voice came from the phone, amused. Put me on speaker if I'm not already. I want to speak to Benjamin. I held the phone out like a weapon. You're on. Benjamin, Roman said. The name dripped with venom. I hope you're listening. Do you remember the night you came to my father's study? The night you told him you bury him in litigation until he couldn't afford a loaf of bread. My father was shaking. Roman, son, listen, we can make a deal. I have money, liquid assets. Name your price. 5 million, 10. We can settle this quietly. Roman laughed again. That's all you people understand. Money. You think you can buy your way out of sins. My father died of a heart attack in a rented apartment because you stole his pension fund, Benjamin. You stole his legacy. You can't write a check for that. Think about Jenna, my mother wailed, leaning toward the phone. She's carrying your child. And that child will be raised knowing exactly who his grandfather is, Roman said cold. He won't be raised on stolen money. I've already sent the files to the SEC and the district attorney, Benjamin. The rehearsal dinner is just theater. It's for the public. But the authorities, they already have everything. My father stumbled back, clutching his chest. You sent them. This morning, Roman said. By the time your guests arrive tomorrow, the subpoenas will be drafted. The freeze on your assets should be hitting, right about now. As if on cue, my father's phone pinged. Then Jenna's, then my mother. It was a symphony of destruction. My father checked his screen. The bank, he whispered. Accounts frozen, pending federal investigation. Jenna looked at her phone. My credit cards, declined all of them. It's over, Roman said. Enjoy the dinner tomorrow. I won't be there. I'm already on a plane. Oh, and Jenna. Jenna looked at the phone, tears dripping off her chin. Yes, she whimpered. The ring, he said. It's a cubic zirconia. I sold the real diamond 6 months ago to fund the private investigators. I thought it was poetic. You wanted a shiny rock. You got a fake one, just like your life. The line went dead. I looked at them. The mighty fall hard, but they fall ugly, too. My father sank onto my cheap linoleum floor. The man who wouldn't sit on a chair that cost less than $5,000 was sitting on the floor of a studio apartment. We're ruined, he muttered. It's all gone. You did this, my mother shrieked, turning on me. You encouraged him. You told him to burn it down. He had already sent the files, Mom, I pointed out. Nothing I said changed the outcome. He played you. He played all of us. The difference is I didn't deserve it. You did. Get out, my father growled from the floor. Get out of my sight. This is my apartment, I said. You get out. They looked around, realizing they had no power here. No money to bribe me. No trust fund to threaten me with. Brooke, Jenna said, her voice trembling. I have nowhere to go, the penthouse. It's in Dad's name, if the assets are frozen. Not my problem, I said. You chose the prettier life, remember? You wanted the loyalty, you wanted the family name. Well, now you have it. You have the name and all the shame that comes with it. I walked to the door and opened it. Leave, now. They left, shuffling out like refugees in designer clothes. My father looked 10 years older. My mother looked broken. Jenna looked like a child who had lost her balloon. I closed the door and locked it. Then I slid the chain across. I leaned my forehead against the cool wood and breathed. For the first time in 6 months, the knot in my chest loosened. I wasn't happy. My family was destroyed. My ex was a vengeance-fueled imposter, and my sister was pregnant and destitute. It was a tragedy. But it was their tragedy. I walked back to the kitchen and picked up my coffee. It was still warm. My phone pinged. A text message. Unknown number. Check your account. I frowned. I opened my banking app. I logged in. My balance, usually hovering around $3,000, had changed. Balance, $5 million. Another text came through. Unknown number, my father's life insurance policy, plus interest. It was the one thing Benjamin couldn't touch. I don't want it, it's blood money. Consider it severance pay for the job of being their daughter and my apology for using you. Start over, Brooke, somewhere far away. R. I stared at the number, $5 million. It wasn't enough to replace a family. It wasn't enough to fix the betrayal. But it was enough to leave. It was enough to never, ever look back. I packed a bag, just one. I left the furniture. I left the clothes I didn't like. I left the letter disowning me on the counter. I got in my car and drove. I didn't know where I was going, but for the first time in my life, the road ahead wasn't paved with expectations. It was just open. And that was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. Thank you for watching. And please don't forget to subscribe.